So I'm walking into the picture frame, going there like this. And are you all set now, Marcus?
Yeah, I think so. As set as I could be.
So how are you on this lovely Friday in February?
You know what? I'm in a good mood, I would say. Just come off stage, and it was fun. Good discussions with people.
So we're in the midst of Stockholm Design Week and Furniture Fair. What did you talk about?
I actually talked about, we're turning 80 at IKEA right now. So I talked about a little bit about the past, but also how we are, always been taking on the future and then have this stubborn idea of trying to change things. So what we have done, what we will do.
And people understood?
That's not for me to say. I hope so.
Do you like to be on stage?
No, I'm not like super fond of it, but I'm not like shy either. So
You're very talkative, aren't you?
yeah. Do you think so? Yeah, I don't have a problem to socialize. No, that's true.
No, but I mean, we're in the middle of the design week and there's a new year. I don't want to start off with a tough question. Let's start about, 80 years. How long have you been with IKEA?
It's like not 80, but a lot of years. So like 30 plus, honestly. But I've been in and out of the company as well. We call it like external education, when you start your own things and you go out in other companies.
So what's your role now?
My role now is I actually went from working with product development and being like head of design into something fancy called chief creative officer for the retail part. So I'm developing like new retail solutions and how we should look and feel on even online as well. So those things I'm into. Together with a lot of people, of course.
Retail, isn't that a tough question?
Was that a question?
No. Yeah, no. Well, the question is, obviously, I think it's like it has some sort of like issues, and it's nice to go on a Monday morning, go to work, and sort of like have a retail solution to your thing.
Yeah, I think it's actually for me. I've always really loved challenges, and I think if you look upon retail right now, everybody talks about the death of retail. What it's going to be and so on, and this is where we need new, fresh ideas. It's not going to be like incrementally better. It's going to be something new, and that's kind of a fun thing to work with and think of.
So what's the main challenge then, would you say? Not the content of like objects, but rather other things, right?
I think there's a lot of different challenges. It's first of all, like we had everything around us that changed. That also changed, the fundament for how to do retail. But I think it's also actually about the amount of input you get nowadays. And maybe there's been a focus on things within retail for a long time before. I think that the focus for the future will be far more about editing and curation, actually, to have like make choices and help people make choices. So that's kind of interesting. How do you do that without being, put yourself on top of people, but actually helping them to do it? So.
Can you just give an example of I'm also asked these questions, and I know how tricky they are. But do you have like an example of like a good store that you saw recently?
Oh, that's like all these super hard things. I saw what is it called? This new development outside of not like one of the Battersea Park. Is it called like in London? So I actually saw like a quite nice small Nike store that impressed me a lot.
By Nike or someone else?
Oh, by Nike. That was kind of good in terms of how they took it on, and what you could get, what kind of services, and also how they showed like diversity in that store, which was also interesting. They really took it on in a new way. And still, because sometimes you see a lot of retail experiments that, like a seasoned warrior like me, you see that, okay, great idea, but it will never sell. But this was still like commercial, so you could see that this would be business viable for the future.
So what are you bringing to the table then? What's IKEA bringing to the table with these sort of like retail issues?
I think we need to rethink what you already seen is that we're moving to new places. So we're going in town, and we're going to do new stuff there as well.
What's the main challenge with that? Because I actually saw someone or heard someone say like, oh, I think that IKEA is closing down. But I said like, but no, they're opening more stores but they're in the city. So, but is there a challenge with that?
Of course there are challenges because, IKEA has been like cash and carry, so you go and buy and then you bring it home with the car. When you buy like inside of the city, most likely you won't bring the sofa in your car home. So there's like a completely different setup when it comes to logistics and these parts of the business. But it's also, if you look upon it, deeper, if you're super interested into retailing, you will say that going to IKEA, then you have like a purchase intent. You go there because you have decided to go there 6 to 9 times a year or whatever it is for most people. But if you go to an IKEA store inside of like Gallerian here, or like what we're building now in Oxford Circus, which is one of my biggest projects, is there's like tons of footfall there all the time. So then you have to think in a different way. It's not that people are coming there with an intent. They need to be inspired constantly. So we need to work with inspiration in new ways, and maybe how you engage people in new ways compared to the other. So I would say that it's a new ball game.
Oxford Circus. That's strange. My first reaction is like, why? Why there?
I think that there's tons of reasons for that, but Oxford Circus is like used to be like the mecca of retailing, you know. So we're also taking on like the old Topshop. If you think about the shop in Oxford Circus, it was always like Topshop. So the expectations are high on us to do something spectacular there. So it's a good place.
And when is it going to open?
It's going to open before Christmas.
Are you there? I mean, are you there hands-on as well and look at things, or do you have time to do that?
You met me without the sound on, and you know that I'm kind of a hands-on guy.
This is actually the second time I'm interviewing Marcus. I did that also last spring, and it turned out there was no sound on when I came back home. So I'm like, yeah, well, very interesting talk, but no sound on. All lips were moving, going like, well, yeah. But he's a very chatty guy, and we can talk about other things as well. So we're doing new topics, I think. Yeah.
Completely new topics this time.
I can't remember what we talked about last time, but regardless, there's like new areas. But I want to talk about we have now 7 minutes, and we have 7 more minutes to go about. And I want to talk about that Atelier 100 that's sort of like launched now. I did my research, but tell the audience, what is Atelier 100?
Atelier 100 is it's like an interesting excursion actually from both us together with H&M. So we have joined forces, and what we wanted to do there is to see that we saw if we want to change stuff, we will have to have far more creatives and far more diverse creatives also for the future. And what we see coming out now, and where we source people for both IKEA and H&M, has not diverse enough actually to be close to the many people. So could we start something there, a platform for creatives? So that was the very first idea of it all. And then we made it hard for ourselves also. So we said, oh, let's do it in London. London, there's bound to happen something interesting in London again. We see that because it's gone down, you know. Now is the time for it to go up. It's usually where, exactly. That's the rebirth of creativity there. You can see it coming. So that's why London. But then we said, but let's do the opposite of what we usually do within IKEA and H&M. Let's see if we could be hyper-local. We're 2 big global brands. But what would happen if we put all of our, knowledge into being hyper-local? Whilst making this platform for creatives. So that's the very idea. So everything there is like creatives within 100 kilometers. It's produced within 100 kilometers, and it's also sold only in London. So far.
I think this is the future of retail. When I do my trend seminars, I talk about 2 girls taking an empty space, hang up some like lights in the ceiling, and invite their friends to do like event-driven, community-driven, like selling things. That's what I think is the future of retail. And this is sort of like a more commercial aspect of it. But are you going to make money of it, or is it just other values?
Of course, that's always like the struggle. When you work in small scale, how do you make it? How do you make it business viable? And also, I think it's not just the money part, but the hard part is also, how do you make it affordable enough? We're not like aiming, it's its own brand, so it shouldn't be IKEA or H&M, but how do you make it affordable enough so the ideas and the things that the creators produce reaches enough people to make a change? That's kind of the hard part. And that's why we do like a second round now to see how we could get like learnings with the ones that we had in the first program. They're going to do a second round and actually go into, could we increase the volumes a little bit? Could we think smarter when we do the designs together? Because now we have got to learn each other a little bit. But then I'm totally there as well at what you say. I think that like being local is going to be super important. But being local doesn't always mean that it has to be like locally produced. It's also like how you engage locally, not putting your big brand on top of people, but actually come in and engage with the community and give something back there. I think that's super important for the future of retail.
So, but this conversation is not about the future of retail. This is the conversation about Marcus, actually. We're going to come back to Marcus, but how many stores are there going to be? There's going to be one in every city, like H&M has.
That would be like that's a glorious future if it would be like that. No, let's see. This is still a pilot project, but the aim is, of course, to spread this to cities around the world. But we need to crack some of the things that we haven't cracked yet. We need.
So like what?
Like what I said before, like making, how could you turn it into something which is slightly bigger in actually volumes that it is today. So it makes a bigger impact. Now it's made a big impact within the creative industry and, meeting a lot of creatives. So that part is really, has been super good. So it's talked about in London. But the business part is still yet to be developed, I would say.
Yeah. I looked at the website actually before you came. So you can actually go to atelier100.com, I think it is, and actually buy things already. Did you know that?
I know that.
Okay, that's good. That's good. You've done your homework as well. Yeah.
But what I do know also is that we're not actually selling to all countries yet. So that's something that we work on. So that's going to happen now in the coming month.
Yeah, I just thought that the quality of the things were like iffy.
What kind of products do you think is like the iffy quality on?
Well, I think that it's going to be interesting to see how this evolves, because I mean they're two super commercial brands, H&M and IKEA, that's doing something that's also very efficient, very Swedishly efficient and everything. And then all of a sudden you see clay things like candle holders in clay and like a homemade dress and a homemade purse, and it's iffy. It's all right, but it's all right. And it, of course, stands out for not being that sleek Scandinavian trendiness.
But it's not meant to be Scandinavian at all, actually. So I think that's important. This when we do Atelier 100, the very idea is that it should reflect the area where it is. So actually, from the beginning, to be hyper local. So if we set it up in Hammersmith, it should be not just about London, but being also like reflecting Hammersmith. And this is something that we could see also like going into how big cities function. A big city is not just one big city. London is like tons of different boroughs where, a diversity of people living there, where they also make choices from what kind of borough they live in. Same thing goes for Paris or Tokyo. So that's also the learnings of being hyper local.
We have been talking too much about work now, Marcus. I want this to be a portrait of you, so that people will get behind the name of Marcus. And is there something that people don't know about you that you want to share? Is there anything that's not been said? We're going to talk about dessert later, don't worry. But I mean, is there anything like else?
No.
You don't want to share?
I don't want to share anything. Like I'm a shy guy there. No, I
doubt that.
I don't think that there's so much to share. Actually, a big part of me.
How was Christmas?
Christmas was kind of good. This time around we were not sick. Last year we were like everybody was sick, so that was like a disaster. But this year was quite good.
Do you travel a lot?
I travel every week. And
Is it fun?
I love traveling.
What's your favorite destination?
What's my main destination and my
favorite? Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I love London, but if I make a choice in the world, I would say what's the place I go back to all the time? I go Marseille. It's one of my favorite places, so I go there a lot. I like it.
Never been.
You should go there. It's lovely.
I want to see Lyon and all. They're like all the other.
Lyon, we hate Lyon in Marseille, so I stay in Marseille every summer. So Lyon, no.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing. So this program is called Design and Dessert, and as we did with the interview with No Sound, we talked about desserts. And also everyone gets the question, what kind of desserts do you like?
I hate everything that is sugary. Yeah. So for me, ordering desserts, I always order cheese.
Yeah, do you?
Yeah.
But do you cook?
I cook a lot. I do all of the cooking at home when my son is not at home, because he's a better chef than me, actually.
What do you cook?
I enjoy any kind of kitchen. So lately it's been a lot of, together with my son who's then super interested, it's been a lot about Korean. Bought like one of those small also donabes, where you could cook inside. So it's like hot pots and stuff. And a small gas stove that you have on the table. Super Japanese also. It looks really fancy, I could tell you.
Well, our 50 minutes are up, and I think you should rush off to your next meeting. And with this, I hope the sound works, Marcus. Otherwise, we'll do a third interview, so don't worry. Okay,
Lovely to meet you.
bye.
Bye.